Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the DC fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue we're about to go through. So, we started with Stormwatch 37, and we are now on Stormwatch 38. This is from 1996. Early on, a few years after they started, Image realized they had a problem in which a lot of these creators were putting out shit. Jim Lee was too busy doing his own crap to even bother drawing. Todd McFarlane had gone into inking. His writing's not that good. I love Todd McFarlane. I love his art. Don't care about his writing. Rob, all these people hired their buddies to do, work, and none of them were professionals. None of them were good writers, and, they had a crap. So they started to go after, lesser known, but people that actually dedicated themselves to writing, like, Rob Liefeld, I think, took Jeff Loeb and Alan Moore. Jim Lee also took Alan Moore. And then he also took Warren Ellis, who had started doing some independent stuff and I think had gotten Transmetropolitan through Vertigo. Although I think it was in Helix first, and then Helix went under and Vertigo took it. So, all right. So, Stormwatch 38. Warren Ellis came in and redid everything from what was the status quo. We did not cover anything on Stormwatch 1 through 37. 1 through 36, because honestly, it was garbage. So, I don't care for it. But Stormwatch is going to lead to the Authority. So this is kind of baby steps how we go from this to that. So, all right. Warren Ellis and the writers starting in the 90s wrote a lot different than, the stuff that had been going on at Marvel and DC. A lot different than Chris Claremont, than John Byrne, not as wordy, and sometimes saying things that just weren't making too much sense. But okay, so we have here, he was codenamed Undertow. When he joined Stormwatch, the United Nations Special Crisis Intervention Unit, last night he was fired. And look at that. Oh my goodness gracious. I wish I could remember his real name. Skywatch, his former place of employment, hangs 20,000 miles above his burnt corpse just looking. So, alright, so here we have Henry Bendix, the weatherman. Undertow was murdered last night in his apartment within one of the United Nations accommodation blocks. Skywatch security teams have sealed the crime scene. Diplomatic immunity is preventing the NYPD from interfering. Though removed from active service, Undertow was still on a UN retainer. He was still one of ours. I love this. Very Star Trek-ish almost in a way. As weatherman, his death is my responsibility. I want his killer. Very striking pose here. Very well rendered. Your background as a detective, Hellstrike, and your heat-related ability, Fahrenheit, make you two of the three choices to investigate this matter for me. Oh, to investigate this for me. And the third, says Fahrenheit, is already in New York. He has an adverse reaction to remaining on Stormwatch. It's funny. What does her heat-related abilities have? I swear. They just make things up just for the sake of it. But it's part of what makes Warren Ellis and Mark Miller and Grant Morrison so unique in their, they write very chaotically. At least it just, you an issue at a time doesn't, seems, I don't know, it seems weird, but there's a method, and once you get a few issues in there, you kind of start seeing the big picture and understanding sort of the way that these guys work. So don't be turned off by this. I'm also covering Planetary, which is just as wild and crazy. It's just it just takes a bit. What was the green guy here? Hellstrike. All right. So, you're talking about the We Get Hawksmoor, aren't you? The man's a Bilex, Weatherman. You met the guy for like 2 minutes, Nigel, and Weatherman is not having any of it. Silence. I know a Bilex when I see one, he says. Silence. Again. Oh my god. Transfer Bay 1. The pair of you, Hawksmoor, will meet you at the site. So, Nigel got told off, she says here. Bendis just wanted to gnaw on some feller's head, makes him feel better. So Chris Claremont did a lot of this where he made the language sort of the way it sounds to us. So when Scottish people would say something like Moira MacTaggart, when he wrote her, she'd have an accent and he would display that with Banshee. Also, by the way, I have an X-Men playlist going through the X-Men on a daily, so there's plenty of videos in there for you to look at. He does that with Rogue. He does that with a lot of people. So a lot of writers. I mean, it wasn't Chris Claremont, but Chris Claremont is just notoriously for putting that in there. So, all right, admit it. You don't like Hawksmoor because you're an old cop, and he obviously doesn't have much time for cops. Well, being in New York, I maybe don't blame him, but I still think he's a wee jit. So here, Warren Ellis doesn't even, he just makes these, he went into convulsions aboard Skywatch. He was separated from the city. He was designed to live in the cities. Here, he doesn't need to eat, not when he can convert air pollution into nourishment. The city feeds him and lets him dance in her hair. I tell you, it's it really grows on you. I know it seems weird, but I trust me. By the time this becomes the authority, or prior to it, this is gonna be really good. You just have to be patient with Warren Ellis here, just like you have to be patient with Grant Morrison. So I've been covering Grant Morrison's run on JLA. Check that out. I do also have a playlist with that. So, and that's all Jack Hawksmoor ever needs. In return, he attempted to clean the parasites from her concrete skins, the criminals, and those who made the criminals. So, until yesterday, he became an officer of Stormwatch. From today, he will try and bring justice to all the cities. So, the extra organs in his forearms and across his chest begin pumping. The city relaxes her gravitational pull on him, attracts him instead to this apartment block. And light as smoke, he gains purchase on one of her billion eyelids. Again, we just take his word for it. So, Hellstrike says, take your time. And Fahrenheit says, hello. The guy says, poor guy. Bendix says, this is a United Nations owned apartment building for UN staff. Yeah, makes you feel safe, doesn't it? Says Fahrenheit. Well, the windows got taken out by the bomb, and so Hellstrike says, "Name Jack Hawksmoor, specialist subject, the bleeding obvious." You can see there the annoyance. Let me finish. It wasn't the shockwave of the blast that did it. It was the fire. Fahrenheit says, "Dead right. The heat did all the damage here, including killing Pull Undertow. My powers say the bomb projected a huge sheet of flame right across the room and out the door." Again, so the way Warren Ellis writes, he just goes right from 0 to 60 immediately, and that's, I think, part of what it is, because he just keeps going and going. So we need to get these people sort of tell us what's going on, because he doesn't have time for the slow burn. Whereas Chris Claremont was the slow burn kind of guy, Warren Ellis is the opposite. Warren Ellis wants to tell you his story in 22 pages and just bang, 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 bang it. And so that's sort of part. That's the same thing with, like I said, with the three, Mark Miller, Warren Ellis, and Grant Morrison. The three of them sort of are in that same thing where they just want to get you there. So they're not about the ride, they're about the destination. So Hellstrike says, "Aye, that makes sense. You see, I turned up the trigger. It was within the arc the door would describe when it opened inwards, but at the arc's end. Mind if the door had to be wide open to let a burst of flame through, it'd have to be, wouldn't it? So the trigger gets tapped by the door when it's almost all the way open. No wires visible to Undertow. And the poor bastard gets boiled in his shoes right where he stood." So, question, who did it? And Hellstrike tosses that trigger to him. "That's the one, ain't it? No idea. Security stayed tight all night. The flames scorched away any fingerprints, and there's no teleport signature. Your Yanks there don't have a clue either." And he says, "What? This is a United Nations building. UN buildings always have security provided by the host country. There's state-of-the-art American surveillance hardware everywhere, and they show nothing. Listen, could you get the case tape back up to Skywatch and typed up? I want a copy faxed to Carl and Maya Royko double quick." Still dealing with faxes in 1996. They were with Stormwatch on loads of military missions. They've got explosive expertise that I don't. I need a drink. Ever been to Clark's Bar? Says Hellstrike. Heard of it. Never wanted any contact with the superhero community. Never considered myself a part of it. Well, here's the news, wee lad, says Hellstrikes. You are now. So, alright, so now we're back at Stormwatch's satellite. Love the crescent moon thing. Kind of looks like a Star Wars / Moon Knight combination here. Jackson King is nowhere near used to his new job. Yesterday, he was field leader of Stormwatch. Today, he is Stormwatch's official trainer. And so, here comes Jenny Sparks. Anyway, but we continue on this side. So far, back in the scheme of things, that he doesn't even count as in rear with the gear, all because he's halfway in love with another Stormwatch officer. And so he says, "You're late." And so, oh dear. What's worse, Sunbeam, is that I'm barely awake and I haven't drunk my breakfast yet. So you and Harry can stick your talent testing session up your combined arse and let me go back to bed, says Jenny. And now Jackson gets to do exciting stuff like cope with this new Stormwatch officer, like Jenny Sparks. In session, Sparks, you will call me Battalion. Sunbeam doesn't cut it. Further, you will refer to the weatherman as weatherman, not Henry. Computer, begin session. Session does no such thing. Respect your elders, Sunbeam, particularly when they need to drink a crate of beer and sleep for a week. You can see here, Battalion has some like a techno suit in there, and he shoots at her, and she screams here, and she's like, "You little tosser," whatever that means. I'm a psychokinetic, Sparks. My suit amplifies my powers. My guns are designed to focus it. I'm shooting at you with my mind, Sparks. These are my talents. This session is intended to display yours. Stormwatch requires all physical data possible on its officers. The weatherman tells me that you're 96 years old, Sparks. I've seen sprightlier 100-year-olds on walking frames. Sparks, you need training. All right, Sunbeam. All right. You want to see my talents? This him shooting here looks pretty cool. And you can see her. Here you go. And her eyes light up. And he gets electrocuted here. Pretty cool. So Jenny says, in 1955, I was sleeping with a poet from America. He used to call me the spirit of the 20th century. He was a prat too, Sunbeam, just like you. I'm electric, Sunbeam. I own electricity. He did have a nice bum, though. I remember that very distinctively as she kind of shoots him away with her energy. Electricity is everywhere, Sunbeam. It runs your suit. It runs the station. Therefore, I have a foothold on everything. There's electrical current in the human brainwave. Everything, Sunbeam. Because I'm a nice old lady, I won't subtract the electricity from your brain. I could. And you can see her just like, don't ever touch my beer again. And kind of slaps him on the side of the head here. Pretty cool. All right. So we're in this building, and Warren Ellis doesn't even tell us what building this is. He just kind of goes for it. So get your fetishes out, you two. Clark doesn't serve anyone unless they can show some secret ID. And so this guy looks like Beast. So these are probably some Wildstorm characters that I would have no idea here. Right there, Clark just brought two of me colleagues in for a pint. Like, Hellstraight, decided to show your face in here again, eh? Well, let me tell you something, young man. If you burn through my ceiling again, I'll burn through you. So this appears to be a Superman type guy. So that bar named Clark's. And so this up here. So he's done worse than that when he's drunk. In Hong Kong last year, he struck firefighters in. And he says, I'd be laughing if I'd had a face like yours, Lauren Pennington. Whose round is it? Yours, says Hawksmoor. Bollocks. So here we have all these different, like I said, these have to be Wildstorm because this is what Mr. Terrific or Mr. Majestic or something. So one other thing, it was a two-man team that did the job. I can tell by how they got in and out through the windows. Might have held that one, but the windows got taken out. The windows could have told you how'd they get in. Aye, the city sees everything, Nigel. The apartment floor retained the impression of two men walking. Question: who were they and how did they get in to plant the bomb? My first thought was Stormwatch enemies, and he's drinking this here. We know some with teleport facilities, but teleporting leaves an energy trace, and we didn't find any. And he says, I need more brain food. You want us to fill a tro for it? And so, again, we're moving on. We don't get any cues, just assuming that it's no longer the bar. So that's one of the few things that I do miss in the old days. It really gives you no idea what city, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. It could be anywhere, but it's just weird. There's just zero telling you anything. So, sorry, just resetting the man traps for the next door's bastard children. What's up? I feel that way too. The weatherman seems to be calling on our services. Didn't waste much time, did he? Remove us from combat service yesterday evening and buys us this house by midnight, moves us in by dawn. And so you can see they're packing up everything. Starts handing us intelligence analysis jobs in the afternoon. It's from Lauren. Oh, hell. Undertow's dead. You know, the young guy who was so nice? Explosion. Lauren's on forensic details. They're trying to ID the explosive. It threw a flame sheet, he says here. And whoever this lady is. Remember when Weatherman had us backstop a special forces team in Iraq? The explosives they used to do an ammo dump. Oh, no. Oh, yes. Look at the description Lauren gave. I better call the weatherman. And you hear a snap. Mommy! And then she kind of smiles here. Part of what, the same thing people would say, or not the same thing, the things people would complain about Chris Claremont, that he was too wordy, you could see Warren Ellis kind of being a little bit, if you were to pick up this issue, you'd have no idea who the hell any of these people are, because no one tells you. There's nothing in here telling you they're, who they are, what they used to, just nothing. And that is a misstep. Warren Ellis's genius is in other things, but in drawing new readers, it becomes very difficult, because this was a monthly book. It's available. If I missed the first issue, how the hell do I know who any of these people? What if I'd never gone into Stormwatch and read anything? I mean, there's nothing to tell you. There's little bits and pieces, but they could learn a lot from Jim Shooter's rule of every issue is somebody's first. And Image Comic lost that, and then Marvel and DC, in the race to try and get everybody once they saw kind of how Image was doing in their becoming Image, they lost that, unfortunately, and we haven't recovered it yet. If you take a look at new writers and a lot of stuff, there's just hardly explain anything that happened to you or that's happened. So a lot of times these stories sort of get lost. So if you're that way, if this is your first video, I have another one. I have the first one in there. I haven't made a playlist yet, because I normally try to make a playlist after there's like 4 videos or so. But I do have the first part. Feel free to listen to that if you'd like, and then just kind of go in here. So all right, so Hope is calling. Hope, this is someone calling with a good idea, because I think we ran out of them a while ago. So all right, so would we? Yep, we would come here. Skywatch comm station to Fahrenheit. Hold for patch call from Maya Roiko. Lauren, it's Maya. Can't chat. You have to hear this right now. Carl and I are about 99% certain Undertow was killed with C4. It throws out a unique sheet of fire on detonation. It's an American Special Forces explosive, expensive and exclusive. I really don't want to say it to you, Lauren, but she says, and so Lawrence says, American explosive, American security provided at the apartment buildings. Thanks, Maya. Fahrenheit to Transfer Bay 1. Bring us home. And so they're being teleported here. Nice little Photoshop effect. So we have the security person. Remember us? We met earlier. We're Stormwatch. You're head of security for this building, as provided the American government. That's what you told us anyway. And so she grabs the guy. Don't pick up the phone. The building's surrounded by Storm Force troops. Listen, I'm an American. I like being American, but today I found a colleague of mine might have been murdered by Americans. I think you're in on it. You and I are going to watch your surveillance tapes again to find out. She says here. You can see she's screaming because you see the spit here, kind of going through here. So, um, and sorry, normally I go down and show you Hawksmoor kicking the door and breaking it. So they're watching the video. We are still in the era of regular TVs. We don't have those wide TV yet that everybody now watches. So, okay, here's the videotape of Undertow coming home. We got younger viewers, videotape was what we had before CDs, which was before just digital. There were an analog way of recording things. So, running back 10 minutes. Let's get the lead up. And so, someone going out for the night, a few doors down. He didn't drill through the walls to get into Undertow's place. No, something's wrong with that. Run it again. And he says, I don't think. And she's like, again, you can see Hellstrike holding him. There, sunlight falling out of his door into the corridor. It was night when Undertow came home. You cut and spliced the damned videotape. Where's the missing session? Did it show the explosives team entering Undertow's? And she's using, you can see here, she's about to burn this guy. Tom Raney was doing, he did Uncanny X-Men a little bit before John Romita's return for issue 300. It was, Tom Raney was there at Marvel, kind of doing X Factor and Uncanny X-Men between issues like 290 through 299. So we got this guy here saying, don't care whose building it is, you can't block the streets like. And so Fahrenheit says, I want a guard detail over here to transfer this man to Skywatch. And you can see them in handcuffs. It looks like it could get ugly. Hold it, you can't just, and boom, hit from behind. That wasn't bloody necessary. Tough. Here's the news, Hellstrike. Welcome to the New World Order. I love how the just that little bit of the eye comes through. And so the guard says, torture me, drug me, beat me. It won't do any good. You're not getting a thing out of me. And he says, torture, dear God, you are living in the dark edges. No, what we're going to do is strip your scalp, drill a hole in your skull, and push scanning needles into your living brainwaves. We'll extract the necessary information from your brain quite painlessly, says the weatherman. Unless we forget the anesthetic. Hi, I'm the surgeon, and I'm drunk. Again, Warren Ellis-isms. People that drink a lot, you know, it's kind of funny. Garth Ennis, by the way, is also one of those. It's just alcohol is a big part of them. For some reason, I don't know. I'm not much of a drinker. I really am not. But you notice that a lot of the stuff they write is like, oh, I'm drunk, and like it's funny or whatever. I don't think it's necessarily funny, but it is a bit of a thing. This is of course an adult superhero comic book, and it's different because it's still superheroes, but we're going the adultish route here. So or maybe a teenager. This is definitely not an all ages book. So moldering in a damned safe house. So look, if Control says being in New York is a bad idea, that's what it is, okay? You know the guy we had had connections. Yeah, the United Nations waiting to steal our country from us with their damn world government control should let us keep going. And so here comes Hellstrike and says, you're under arrest to these two, who must be the two that killed him. They shoot at Hellstrike, but of course that does nothing. What part of you're under arrest do you not understand, wee lad? You can see him hitting this guy. So put the gun down. Go to that can't be hell. It would be whatever. So she burns his hand and then punches him. You got him, Fahrenheit. He's nice worm. Stop. You can't. Lord, for God's sakes. Put him down. Put your anger away. Anger, you think this is about being angry? I'm ashamed. Why? I understand, but I mean, this is how governments work, Fahrenheit. You think after 37 issues or 38 issues doing a political slash superhero thing, you'd understand, but so we're at the White House. What the hell is this? This would be Bill Clinton. Two of yours, Mr. President. These are the explosive experts who murdered one of my officers last night. You either have no knowledge of this or you will pretend you don't. It doesn't matter. You or one of your creatures have decided for no good reason to commit an act of war against Stormwatch and therefore the United Nations. There will be a reprisal, and then we shall see where we stand. Don't test us, he says. We have received your message that we are not wanted or safe in your country. Stand ready for ours. So there we go. So Stormwatch number 38, Warren Ellis and Tom Raney. Again, there's nothing in here telling you it's the end of the issue. Nothing. Again, I promise you, but this will get different. It's just stumbling through his writing style. It's a little bit, but the payoff, trust me, the payoff is wonderful because the second volume of Stormwatch and then leading into the Authority is goddamn great. So, all right. Well, that's it. I don't have anything else to say. So, Stormwatch 38, 1996. Thanks for listening. Bye. Oh, like and subscribe. Goodbye.